You keep a ticket stub in a drawer somewhere, a photograph you never show anyone, a shirt that doesn't fit anymore but still smells, somehow like a summer you can't get back. You tell yourself it's sentimental, harmless, but the real answer is far stranger, and it reaches into the same part of the brain that drives some of the most disturbing crimes ever recorded. Serial killers keep trophies, not always weapons, not always money, sometimes a ring, a lock of hair, a driver's license tucked into a wallet for years. Investigators have found these objects in freezers, in shoeboxes, in the glove compartments of unremarkable cars. For decades, the assumption was simple. The killer kept a trophy the way a hunter keeps an antler, proof of a kill, a trinket of dominance. That explanation feels satisfying. It is also incomplete. Think about how strange that explanation actually is once you sit with it for a moment. A hunter mounts an antler on a wall. Visitors see it. Friends admire it. The whole point of a hunting trophy is the audience. But most of what investigators pull out of evidence boxes was never meant to be seen by anyone at all. Robert Ressler, the FBI agent who coined the term serial killer in the 1970s, spent years interviewing convicted murderers face to face, building one of the first detailed behavioral databases on violent offenders. What he found didn't fit the trophy as prize theory cleanly. Many offenders didn't display these objects. They didn't show them off to anyone. They hid them. Some described taking the item out in private, alone, almost ritually, just to look at it, sometimes for years afterward, long after any practical risk of getting caught had passed. That last detail matters more than it seems. If fear of discovery were the only reason these objects stayed hidden, the behavior should fade once the danger does. It didn't. Offenders described returning to the same drawer, the same box, the same hiding place, over and over, decades later, still drawn to it the same way. Why hide a trophy if the entire point of a trophy is to prove something to someone else? Here's where the story stops being about crime and starts being about memory itself. Your brain does not store memories the way a camera stores video. It reconstructs them every single time you recall an event, pulling fragments from different regions and stitching them back together in the moment of remembering. Cognitive psychologist Elizabeth Loftus spent her career proving exactly how unstable this process is, showing through decades of experiments that memories can be altered, distorted, even partially invented, simply through the act of retrieving them. Every time you remember something, you are not replaying it, you are rebuilding it, and every rebuild is a little different from the last. This is unsettling enough when it comes to remembering where you parked your car. Loftus famously demonstrated that something as simple as a leading question, asked the right way, could implant a false memory of an event that never even happened, one her subjects would later describe in vivid, confident detail as if they had lived it. If memory is that easy to bend over a parking lot or a fabricated childhood story, imagine what it does, unprompted, to a moment soaked in adrenaline, fear, and obsession. Now apply it to the most intense, most emotionally charged moment of a violent offender's life. If the memory degrades every time it's recalled, the experience itself starts to slip away. The intensity fades, the control fades. For someone whose entire psychological architecture is organized around dominance and the recreation of power, a fading memory is a kind of death of the self that mattered most to them. So they keep an anchor, a physical object that doesn't reconstruct, doesn't soften, doesn't change. Criminologist Eric Hickey, who built one of the most extensive academic profiles of serial offenders across the 20th century, described this pattern as less about possession and more about access. The object isn't a prize sitting on a shelf, it's a key. Touch it, hold it, and the offender isn't remembering the moment anymore. In their mind, distorted as it is, they're back inside it. Hickey's research tracked offenders across hundreds of cases, and the pattern repeated with uncomfortable consistency. The object showed up wherever the obsession lived longest, not wherever the danger was lowest. Think about what that means. The trophy isn't a symbol of the crime. It's a tool for resisting time. It's less like a medal and more like a door left slightly open, just in case the offender needs to walk back through it. And this is where the story turns, because that exact mechanism, the one driving some of the most disturbing behavior researchers have ever catalogued, is sitting in your own desk drawer right now. You don't keep that photograph because you're trying to relive trauma. You keep it because some part of you understands, instinctively, what Loftus proved in a lab. The memory alone isn't enough. It drifts, it softens. It eventually starts feeling like something that happened to someone else. So you anchor it, a physical object, something that hasn't reconstructed itself the way your memory has, something that, when you hold it, makes the moment feel close again instead of distant. This is why museums work the way they do. This is why people pay absurd amounts of money at auction for a guitar a musician once owned, or a jersey worn during one specific game, decades after the moment it represents. The object hasn't changed. Everything else has. Standing in front of it feels like proof against forgetting. Why does an object do something a memory can't? Because an object is static. It doesn't update. Every time you remember your grandmother's kitchen, the memory shifts slightly, colored by every kitchen you've seen since. But the apron that hung on her door hasn't changed. It can't reconstruct itself. It's frozen exactly as it was, and when you touch it, your brain treats that stillness as proof. Proof that the moment was real. Proof that it mattered. Proof that you didn't imagine the weight of it. This is the same neurological itch a killer is scratching when they take something small from a victim. The crime fades, distorts, becomes unreliable the moment it's over, the same way every human memory does. The object doesn't. It's the only thing in their experience that resists the decay. Everything else in the brain is constantly performing. Forensic investigators have learned to use this against offenders. Search warrants increasingly target the mundane, not the dramatic, not weapons, drawers, closets, the corner of a garage nobody would think to check, because the profile built from wrestlers' interviews and decades of follow-up research consistently points to the same place. Offenders keep these objects close, accessible, private, not displayed, not boasted about, held the way you might hold a photograph of someone you lost. Investigators have learned to ask different questions during searches now, partly because of patterns like these. Not, where would you hide something valuable, but where would you keep something you needed to be near? Those two questions point to very different parts of a house. A safe deposit box answers the first. A nightstand drawer, a coat pocket, the space behind a mirror, those answer the second. That single behavioral detail, the hiding instead of showing, is what eventually separates the trophy taker from the simple thief. A thief wants value. A trophy taker wants access to a feeling that's already starting to disappear the moment the crime ends. There's something almost tragic buried in that. Even inside an act that deserves no sympathy, the compulsion isn't really about the victim at all. In the offender's distorted internal world, it's about chasing a version of control that memory alone could never hold on to. Every time they retrieve the memory without the object, Loftus's research suggests it changes slightly, drifts slightly, loses some fraction of the intensity that made it matter to them in the first place. The object is the only thing standing between them and that loss. It's worth sitting with how isolating that actually is. The crime, for all its violence, was never really sustainable on its own terms. The feeling it produced started decaying the second it ended, the same way every feeling does, the same way every memory you've ever had has been decaying and rebuilding itself since the moment it was formed. The offender is left chasing a sensation that's designed by the brain itself to fade, and the object becomes the only available defense against a kind of forgetting nobody can actually stop. You do the same thing for entirely different, entirely human reasons. A wedding ring kept after a divorce. A child's first shoe kept long after the child has outgrown 100 pairs since. A voicemail saved on a phone, never deleted, never even listened to again, just kept. Because deleting it would mean admitting the moment is only a memory now. And memories, as it turns out, are not nearly as solid as they feel. Think about the last object you couldn't bring yourself to throw away. A concert ticket from a show you barely remember the details of anymore. A birthday card from someone who isn't around to write another one. A worn-out piece of clothing that doesn't fit, doesn't suit you anymore, and yet somehow ended up surviving every closet purge you've ever done. None of those objects are valuable to anyone else. To you, they're something closer to evidence. Proof that a version of your life that's starting to feel unreal actually happened. What does this mean for how you remember your own life? It means the version of your past sitting in your head right now isn't the original. It's a reconstruction, rebuilt slightly differently every time you visit it, shaped by everything that's happened since the moment actually occurred. The people you've become, the things you've learned, the heartbreak since. All of it bleeds backward into memories you'd swear are untouched. That's not a flaw unique to you. It's not a flaw unique to anyone disturbed enough to take something from a person they hurt. It's simply how a human brain works, for better and for far, far worse. The forensic psychologists who study violent offenders and the cognitive scientists who study ordinary memory are, strangely enough, often describing the exact same mechanism from two completely different rooms. So the next time you find yourself holding on to something small, something that seems to matter more than its size or value should explain, you're not being sentimental. You're doing exactly what every human brain has always done when faced with the unbearable truth that memory fades, no matter how much the moment meant. You're not keeping the ticket stub. You're keeping a piece of time that hasn't started reconstructing itself yet.